Hello everybody, Vic here with another video, and today we're ranking all the timelines in the Halloween franchise. Listen, this franchise, as we all know, is pretty much a choose-your-own scare adventure. It started off with perfect rhyme and reason with Halloween 1, Halloween 2, Halloween 4, well, Halloween 3 sort of took it off the rails a little bit with creating a kind of an anthology idea, and then back with Halloween 4, and then we were off for the races after the Thorn timeline. Different timelines, characters come and go. Laurie Strode showing up in different timelines. It's all over the place. But people have come to enjoy that aspect of the franchise. So I think it was something that was criticized back in the day, but I think fans nowadays actually like the idea of, hey, we can, open door A and see Michael Myers do this, and open door B and see Michael Myers do this, and, open door 3 and there is no Michael Myers. It's just Halloween 3. So there's some interesting things with the timelines here, so I'm going to rank them. I've ranked this in the past, but I have a new ranking because I've come to some new conclusions here about the Halloween timeline. So let's start off with my lowest ranked timeline, and it's really not a timeline, it's just its own alternate universe, and that's the Rob Zombie Halloween movies. That's Rob Zombie's Halloween from 2007 and Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 from 2009. And listen, I think I've said this in the past, but this movie definitely has an audience. This movie definitely has a following. A lot of Halloween fans enjoy these movies. I just tend to feel like these movies are not for me. I don't get a big kick out of them. They don't feel like Michael Myers. They don't feel like the vision of what I want out of Halloween movies. But I respect that Rob Zombie did something totally different. I mean, he could have just done an exact remake of the first movie, which would have been lazy and would have catered to OG Halloween fans. And in hindsight, maybe OG Halloween fans would have a higher appreciation for them. But he did go into a different direction and he committed to it fully. So you got Rob Zombie's Halloween, the first one. I do like all the stuff with Loomis and Michael as a kid in the hospital. I wish the entire first movie would have been just focusing on Michael as a kid in the hospital, because that feels unexplored to me in the Halloween franchise. The time where Michael, from kid years to teen years, at Smith's Grove, Loomis, what is he seeing there that makes him think that he's a personification of evil? That all seems unexplored to me in the Halloween franchise. So I would like an entire movie to just focus on that. And then Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 goes batshit insane with all kinds of crazy stuff happening. The thing you have to like about the franchise is that he really commits to Michael just being an amazing, brutal killer in Rob Zombie's Halloween movies. I mean, the kills are over the top. Michael's not playing around. And listen, I know that I've complained about that in the past, but if you're presenting an entire new version of Michael Myers and it's completely different, we know it's different from the OG version of Michael Myers, not connected at all. I think you have more creative liberties there to do what you want with Michael as a killer. So I have a high respect for the Rob Zombie Halloween movies, but they're not movies that I feel like I want to go back and rewatch. And they're not really, they feel like a completely separate thing. And I think my appreciation for them grows as I continue to treat them as a separate thing. They're not in the Halloween franchise per se for me, but I respect for them as movies individually. All right, let's go to the actual real sort of canon timelines that we all know and love. And I'm going to call this one, my next on the list is the Resurrection timeline, which is Halloween, Halloween 2, H2O, and Halloween Resurrection. And this will be much higher in the list, as we'll see, but there's one glaring problem with this timeline, and that's Halloween Resurrection. Halloween Resurrection, which is telling us that it wasn't Michael Myers at the end of H2O, that it was a damn paramedic who, even though it's not Michael, is mimicking all of Michael's movements, actions, doing exactly what Michael would have done in the same exact scenario. It's just silly stuff here. Resurrection is a terrible movie for the most part. There's some entertaining, redeemable things there. I have to admit that Busta Rhymes is by far the most entertaining part of the movie, even though he should have got killed halfway through the movie when he's tapping Michael on the head. All that said, Resurrection is a terrible ending to that timeline. First of all, you have the catharsis ending of H2O with Laurie chopping Michael's head off, completely undone by being a paramedic. And not only that, the whole purpose of H2O is basically, Laurie defeating her demons and moving on with her life. Resurrection just totally just kills all that because Laurie's going to get killed by Michael in the first 10 minutes. So literally, the first 10 minutes of Resurrection literally makes the entire purpose of H2O just mutes the whole thing. Like, what was the purpose of the entire movie if Endgame is Michael showing up a couple years later and killing Laurie Strode? It's just completely silly. We get no closure with John or Molly. No explanation of why Michael's not continuing to go after his bloodline with John. Shouldn't he be after John after the events of H2O? So Resurrection brings down this entire timeline, of course, and that's why it can't be higher on the list, but there will be justice for this timeline later on the list. All right, now we're going to go to the next one on my list, and that is the 2018 timeline. That is the original Halloween, then Halloween 2018, Halloween Kills, and Halloween Ends. The best thing about this timeline is that it has a conclusive ending. Michael Myers at the end of this timeline is killed by Laurie Strode, and the whole town watches them disintegrate into nothingness, and that's the end of the timeline. Do I think that it was necessary? Like in the Halloween canon, did we need to bring Laurie Strode back after H2O? No, not really. It's kind of revisiting territory we've already visited with H2O. We've seen 20 years later Laurie dealing with a trauma in a realistic way and her having a final confrontation with Michael Myers. So do we need it again 40 years later? Not really, but there's still some strengths in the new trilogy, and I think that probably for me, one thing that stands out, I've seen theories online that maybe they should have included Halloween 2 in this canon, because that's how they're kind of separating from, okay, this is not like H2O, because H2O factored in Halloween 2. This is just going off the events of part 1, and they're not brother and sister. But a lot of the stuff in the new trilogy makes more sense to me if they are brother and sister, because when you take that away, the idea of Laurie 40 years later being that traumatized that she, and I said it before, of course, nobody can speak on how people deal with trauma. It's going to be different for different people. Some people hold on to things for longer than others. But still, 40 years later, she's holding on to a guy who attacked her 40 years ago, and it's not her brother. It wasn't like a targeted thing. It was like a random, thing, and he's been in prison since. So her being that hung up when he's actually in prison, you look at if you take Halloween 2 into it, her fear kind of makes sense because now it's like Michael's not in prison. He's actually been missing for the last, 40 years. That would scare the hell out of anybody. I mean, the guy who attacked me is still out there. He can come back anytime. Of course, I'm going to build a damn fortress and, learn how to use every single gun on the market and be ready for when he comes back. And it's my brother. My brother is missing too. So he has a very exact, specific reason to come back after me. To me, that makes a little bit more sense if you're going to focus on Laurie Strode again. And why is she still in Haddonfield? Also in this timeline, nobody can explain to me the idea of why she stays in Haddonfield. If it is so traumatizing that she can't get Michael off her mind, what's the reason to stay in Haddonfield? Is it that great of a town that she has to stay there locally? I mean, again, for all the faults of H2O, Laurie moving to the other side of the country and changing her name, that seems more realistic in terms of, that scenario, just starting a new life. What the Halloween 2018, she wouldn't really have to change her name, but just move on with your life would be like getting out of the town. Like, what draw does Haddonfield have for Laurie Strode to stay there? And then, of course, with the new trilogy, as we all know, the faults in terms of you had Halloween 2018, felt like a solid standalone film, but there didn't seem to be a plan for the entire trilogy going forward. So then Halloween Kills sort of picks up from Halloween 2018. There is still some continuity there, but they don't really advance the plot much there with Halloween Kills. And then Halloween Ends basically says, listen, I don't care what you guys were watching with Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills. We're going to do something completely different, which it's fine to do different things and take different directions. But if it's the concluding chapter in a trilogy, you need some more consistency there than what we're getting here with that. So, but then it's also trying to shoehorn in the whole Laurie Strode versus Michael dynamic, which really isn't earned for the end of Halloween Ends, but we have to get it because you have to end the trilogy with that. So I thought there was some better things they could have done with the new trilogy if it had been planned out ahead, kind of storyboard out where they all went together with some kind of logical consistency. But look, you have a great Michael Myers in this timeline because you have Halloween 1, which is Nick Castle, and James Dude Courtney does a great job all throughout the new trilogy. You have pretty solid directing from David Gordon Green in the new movies. And, so I can see why newer fans love this timeline and maybe consider it the best timeline. I think probably if you take this timeline strictly as Halloween and Halloween 2018 and then ignore Kills and Halloween Ends, I think then it becomes a fantastic double feature with just Halloween and Halloween 2018. So that's one timeline you could really go with here, just doing Halloween 2018, and ignoring Kills and Ends. But I can see why fans love this timeline, but it's just not for me because I'm not the biggest fan of the trilogy. All right, let's move on here. Our top 3 overall timelines for me. At number 3, this is probably the most popular overall timeline. It's the H2O timeline, which is Halloween, Halloween 2, H2O. These movies go together perfectly, Halloween and Halloween 2, of course, and then 20 years later, revisiting Laurie Strode. The one flaw here is that H2O clearly is not as good as the original Halloween and Halloween 2. So if you watch them as a trilogy, then you do get a feeling that there's a big drop off between Halloween 2 and H2O even. But I mean, the storyline goes together perfectly, and for me, it probably is the best ending to the Michael Myers character you could possibly ask for. When Laurie chops off his head, chops off Michael's head, not a paramedic's head. It is just absolute Halloween perfection. The best way to end the franchise. Great closure for everything. So if you had to watch one as a trilogy, probably Halloween, Halloween 2, and H2O are the three movies together that go together the best together, I would say, as a trilogy. All right, now going to my number two favorite timeline on the franchise. And for a lot of people, this is a mixed bag. This timeline is going to be probably for some people bottom of the list, some on top of the list. Some of this might be nostalgia talking. I admit wholeheartedly that I have a huge nostalgic bias during this timeline, and that is the Thorn timeline. That is Halloween, Halloween 2, Halloween 4, Halloween 5, Halloween 6. One of the reasons I love this timeline so much is that not only is it not only am I nostalgic because these are the movies that I grew up watching on AMC every year on Halloween, but it's not only the Thorn timeline, it's really the Dr. Loomis timeline. This is the timeline where Dr. Loomis is the main character of the franchise with Michael Myers. Coming off Halloween 2, they tried Halloween 3. They weren't happy with the box office results, so they had to bring Michael back for Halloween 4, decided to bring back Loomis as well. And then you have just Halloween 4, 5, and 6, which say what you want. I mean, a lot of people love Halloween 4, and then a lot less people like Halloween 5, and maybe even more less people than that like Curse of Michael Myers. But for me, I've come to appreciate Halloween 5, and I've always been a fan of Curse of Michael Myers. So for me, the Thorn trilogy, 4, 5, and 6 are solid, and I think they go together perfectly with Halloween and Halloween 2. So if I'm doing a full-blown Halloween marathon, what comes to mind for me is going to be 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. No, they're not the best movies, the best directed movies, the best anything, but for me, they are just my favorite timeline for the most part, outside of the number one thing I'm going to tell you about. But yeah, I think you can't go wrong with that. The one big flaw of the Thorn timeline is that Curse of Michael Myers doesn't really give you a good ending to the timeline. It's kind of a vague thing with Dr. Loomis screaming. You could say a producer's cut with the ending where Michael's like dressed up as the Men in Black, but that just invites more questions, and that's not a solid ending either because you're like, well, what the hell? Where do you go from here? I don't understand. So, ending aside, I enjoy those five movies together as one great timeline. All right, but the best possible timeline, I have to say, is just watching Halloween and Halloween 2. We're going to call it the night he came home timeline. Just Halloween, Halloween 2. John Carpenter is involved in both, of course. You have Dean Cundley's cinematography for both movies. You have a great Michael Myers as Nick Castle. You have a great Michael Myers with Dick Warlock. And it's just, again, every Halloween, if you just watch Halloween, Halloween 2, watch them together as one long movie. And it's a great conclusive ending with Michael Myers blowing up in the bathroom and then, clearly on the ground burning, which, again, H2O for the things I like about it. It's hard to explain Michael on the ground burning to a crisp and he still somehow got away. How the hell did he escape that scenario? We don't know. But Halloween, Halloween 2 together, just watching that as one thing, to me is probably the best viewing experience that you could say if you were just bringing somebody new into the Halloween franchise. You probably just start off with that. Just like, let's just watch Halloween, Halloween 2. If you get a kick out of that, then we can go into the choose your own scare timelines. But Halloween, Halloween 2 are two movies that go together like peanut butter and jelly. They give you one great definitive timeline with a conclusive ending. And if you're a Laurie Strode fan, you get enough Laurie Strode. And if you're a Dr. Loomis fan, you get the full Dr. Loomis experience here as well. So that is my ranking of the timelines. Halloween 3, of course, is its own separate things. I didn't put that here, but if we got a sequel to Halloween 3, that might be my favorite timeline if we got a sequel to that, because I really like kind of the ideas and the world they create there. It's just there's not enough meat on the bones because it's only one movie. But in the comments, let me know, how do you rank the timelines? What is your favorite timeline? And of course, if you like the video, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and the like button. And until next time, you guys take care.